Hello, are you an introvert? Or do you work with introverts? And are you wondering how you can flourish in this space? Um, Today's guest has got some extraordinary insights and ideas for introverts in navigating the corporate world and trying to fit into extroverted norms. So listen in if you are working as an introvert in corporate life, or if you're coaching people who are introverts in corporate life. I'm delighted to bring this episode to you. It kind of goes with the marketing tips for introverts that I recorded with Jenny Proctor last year. And isn't it interesting how easy it is to decide how to be with people without asking and then to get it wrong? So listen in to hear how Sarah Manley, author of Quiet Catalyst, so many insights she's got. And I think you'll be buying her book, Quiet Catalyst, straight out of the episode. So listen in if you want to find out how to embrace your introversion as an asset, or how to support someone you're coaching to do that. Listen up.
You're at the Coaching Inn, 3D Coaching's virtual pub, where we enjoy conversations with people who are engaged in the world of coaching.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Coaching Inn. I'm your host, Claire Pedrick, and today Sarah Manley is my guest. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you, Claire. Excited to be with you. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, we met, didn't we, a year ago in real life?
We actually did, in 3D. Always nice, isn't it, to get away from the Zoom screen and be with people. Yeah. Time flew,
that was
though.
such fun.
That was quick.
Can't believe it was a year ago. So, Sarah, you're a coach. You've written a book. And tell us about your coaching journey, and then we'll find out more about your book.
Yeah, sure. So my journey to coaching is relatively recent, but I guess has long roots in the past. So where are we now? 2.5 years ago, I was made redundant from my corporate career, which I loved that career, but it was my time, I have to say. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I really had no intention of what I wanted to do, where I was going, which is quite nice for a change instead of being so structured and disciplined all the time. So I decided, right, I'm going to give myself 6 months as a bit of a break, figure out what's next. And during that time, coaching started to bubble inside me. I had started a coaching qualification as a night class, actually, just before I was being made redundant, because I could describe myself as busy but bored. I always like the next thing. What's the next challenge? What's the next thing? But I was doing it just out of pure interest. And as I had more time to reflect and dedicate to it, it became a bigger thing. And I realized how much energy it gave me and how much joy I had in that dynamic with people, actually. So, yeah, it was a happy accident in lots of ways.
Oh, lovely.
And then now I realize, actually, all through that 20-year corporate career that I had, it was kind of my leadership style by default anyway. So this is why I say it's got long roots in the past of all of that learning and experience now weaves into the coaching I do today.
Nice. And what a beautiful example of the fact that coaches aren't formed on the day they start coaching school.
Very, very true. Very true. Yeah. And I think that formation will never stop, right? You tell me, you were doing this a lot longer than myself. I've spoken to a lot more coaches than I will have yet. But that formation happens every day. Yeah. And sometimes in the most surprising ways, in different conversations that you might have in a coaching container, and sometimes just in life. Oh, yeah, I learned something there. That's interesting. So I get quite excited about that evolution or adventure, however you want to call it.
Nice. And then you birthed a book.
Yes, she popped out. Wasn't too painful, actually. So, yeah, as part of that, I'm going to have 6 months off and see what happens. I did what I thought any 40-something should do at that time to figure out who am I, what do I want to do? And off I went on this brilliant retreat. which is 3 of my favourite things: walking, yoga and writing. Long weekend in a yurt out in Wales. Thankfully, the weather was very nice. And I came back with this stack of Post-its of ideas for something I kind of felt I wanted to write about. And it started with this idea of my big sister at work. So it was almost the book that I wished I'd had in my 20s, 30s, that would help me to recognise it's okay to be an introvert. It's okay to be you. And here are some of the things I learned along the way for embracing that quieter side, for embracing that introversion, but still rocking it out there in the corporate world. And it was a real joy. It actually happened really quickly. So the first Post-its were written in the July. By the December, there was a manuscript that went to the publisher, and the following May, it was out in the world. Wow. So a really curious experience, almost like this download experience is how I could share it. But a lot of joy, so much fun. Really one of the best things I've ever had the opportunity to do.
Wow. So it sounds like the book was already inside you along with the coaching before you even started the writing.
Yeah, and something I found this weekend, so I was clearing out some photos on my phone this weekend, and it's like you've reached your limit again. And I found a picture of a drawing that I'd made. It hasn't got a date on it, but I think it must be around 2017. And I was working with a coach at the time as I was taking on this new big director level role. And it was, my future self, this kind of mind map and drawing. Do you know what was on there? Coaching and writing a book. And I haven't looked at that for nearly a decade. And there it is. It also talked about running the Las Vegas Marathon, which I've not done and have no plan to do. But it's curious, isn't it? That it was there somewhere. I kind of knew, and then it just went in a drawer. So there we are.
How interesting. I had an experience like that, where I was on a retreaty thing and wrote down you could be a coach and then found it years later.
It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes I think we do know, and then we're like, shh, no. We're not ready for you yet, not ready for you. And it just comes tapping again and tapping again and tapping again. So, okay, I'm listening. And sometimes it's about having the time and the space. Yeah, the self-permission to go and do those things.
So Big Sister book is called Quiet Catalyst, the Introvert's Guide to Thriving in Your Career.
Yeah.
So tell us more about her, this big sister.
Yeah. Oh. So the big sister idea was helping people to feel like they had a book just for them, written by somebody who's just like them. And of course, we're all different and diverse, but different phases in my career, I felt very other, very different. And it was that thought of a sister with a nice warm arm, a nice warm embrace of, it's okay. Like, you can figure this out. I'm here for you. I'm here to guide you, support you. Sometimes, we have that loving boots, the idea of, sure, you get the warm cuddle, but also, come on now, you can do more than this. You can stretch. So as the book started to be written, there were some ideas about helping people to feel heard and understood. That was so important for me, to share that feeling. And then to start sharing some of the myths that I'd encountered along the way, some stereotypes that we have to overcome sometimes, helping to understand yourself, like really, really at a fairly deep level, getting to know, who am I? What do I actually want? What do I like? All those sorts of things. And then putting that into practice, into so what? So what do I want to do with that in my corporate life? And I have many people now saying, oh, Sarah, but this is also useful to extroverts, actually. This is also useful for me in my teaching career, not only. And that's wonderful and great. And I'm so happy that more people have found value in it. But it still comes back to that initial thing of a book for introverts by introverts, because it doesn't really exist very often. We have lots of books about how to present, how to network, but it has the assumption that you're actually able, ready, willing to go and do it. And sometimes that's not the starting point.
Yes, there's Quiet, isn't there, by Susan Cain, but that's the only one that comes to my mind.
Yeah, this was a chicken soup for my soul book. Oh my goodness. So a colleague gifted me this book. It's been out 10 years. It's Christmas 2015. I remember very specifically because I had a good sob at the end. A good sob, which was, oh my goodness, like, thank goodness somebody explains this for the first time. And I've done all kinds of insights disc type of activities before. But so often they sort of, you have this day workshop and everyone's like, oh, okay, well, there's Sarah on the other side of the wheel compared to everybody else and blah, blah, blah. And then we go back to our day job tomorrow and nothing changed. Mm-hmm. So a book like Susan Cain's was the first time I was like, now I get it. Now I get it. And I can now do something with this. It was really like an empowering thing. I think that was the sob of relief and excitement. Mm-hmm. And then the book I wrote was really to be what I needed to read next. So then how to apply some of that things in my work.
So what changed after you read the first one, the Susan Cain one?
Self-acceptance. Big time.
I'm me.
I'm me, and that's okay. It's legitimate and fine and brilliant and wonderful to have these quieter qualities that often could be talked over, overlooked or pushed aside, and often very unknowingly, often unknowingly, that just the dynamic of a meeting or of a workshop or a conversation amongst colleagues would be tilted towards an extroverted norm because more of my colleagues were extroverted, and there was me trying to keep up and pretend and mask some of the things and fake it, just getting more and more exhausted. So it was a real light bulb moment of, oh, I don't have to pretend to be, I always do the jazz hands thing, I don't have to pretend to be like that. And coincidentally, I suppose, at the same time, I started working with a great coach who was helping me through a leadership development program. And many times he would help me spot, you see what you did there that was a bit different to everybody else? Do you notice how everybody stopped to listen because you had the thing to say? So those two things happening in parallel, I think, gave me the knowledge and the self-acceptance, but also that, okay, so what are we going to do with it, Sarah? Let's use it. And the phrase that comes to mind is, I kind of went from this square peg, round hole feeling instead to being the missing piece of the jigsaw in the team that sometimes would just bring this different perspective and, really cool inflection point from reading that book.
Have you read Franz Johansson's Medici Effect?
No, I don't know this one.
Oh, it's a really interesting book. So he talks about, it's about difference. So he calls it the Medici Effect because in the whatever century, the artists and sculptors used to all go to Italy, and the difference in terms of the skills that they brought was what brought an edge to the craft of all of them because they were all different. And there's a bit in his book where he talks about being more Louise. And he talks about an organisation being like a box. And if you keep hiring the same kind of people, the box is quite small. And then when you hire Louise doesn't intersect with any of the other circles, but Louise makes the box bigger. I think if you look at Franz Johansson, the Medici Effect, you can see the Louise picture or the Louise video and get it in a couple of minutes.
I love that. But no, I think it's a really interesting thought, isn't it? How just sometimes adding that difference can totally change the game. And sometimes when I talk about the shape of leadership in organizations, as I'm giving talks and so on, I use this tree picture, where a tree that grows in a particular environment where it's very windy is all pushed one way. So we have this tree that's really toppling in this direction. It's very strong and the roots are tough and it's not going anywhere, but it's really going in one way. And what if actually from the beginning, from the bottom up, we embrace that balance, yin yang, introvert, extrovert, every other this and that we can think of from the beginning, then we grow something rounded and more inclusive from the very beginning.
That's beautiful. So what should I be asking you, Sarah?
Oh, what a lovely question. What should you be asking me? Well, do you know something that came up earlier today actually was a lot about what enables some of the change. We talk a lot often in podcasts and so on that I do about the what to do, but not always the how, if that makes sense. So, and if I wrote my book again, maybe there'll be a second edition in the future, who knows, but it was right at the time. I think I'd focus even more on some of the how aspects. And there is a chapter in there about energy management. But as I started to talk more about my work, energy, I realized, becomes the thing. Because it's always the how, energy management, personal battery, however you want to call it, becomes the core of everything. And I think I learned it in corporate life, but I'm relearning it now as a coach, as a solopreneur running my own business. The definition of what is introversion versus extroversion comes back to energy management. Where do you get your energy from? By that quiet time, and I often use the phrase retreat to recharge, and I notice myself doing that sometimes. Or do you energize more from being with people more often? At the end of a long day, what would you rather do? Go and do that social activity or retreat to recharge? And once you really understand how you gain your energy, what drains your energy, in a very personal, unique way that's not just, the Instagram latest thing of, what you should be doing.
Yes.
Which can provide some inspiration, but isn't always totally helpful as we try and copy others, mimic others, as we were saying before, but really getting serious about, but what does give me energy? And it's curious, as I'm giving talks sometimes and we stop and we do some reflection about what does give you energy? It's quite a big question sometimes for people. I don't know, actually. I lost sight of that. I'm busy running, looking after family, friends, work, everything, and I'm not sure. So this whole topic around energy management, I would love, maybe it's even a second book, who knows, about managing energy, but getting really serious about that. And rather than running a task-led week, we're all very good at writing these to-do lists, right? Instead of having a task-led week, making it an energy-led week. It's a really important switch for me, and I think for a lot of introverts.
And neurodivergent people.
Yeah, absolutely. Stopping to notice, I think, is the first thing. Often we find people are so fast in running that we don't always join the right dots. Many introverts, many neurodivergent people have a great aptitude for connecting dots out there, but not in ourselves. So noticing, whether that's writing it down sometimes. Personally, I find that helpful. What's going on there? Like, I feel kind of, what actually was happening to make that happen? How can I address that now? So, yeah, but there's a lot of overlap and a lot of useful things, I think, in energy management for, well, everybody, actually, especially at the pace we run out today.
I'm a vote for your next book.
I feel it brewing. This is dangerous. This is dangerous talk. Starting to bubble and brew. Oh dear.
Nice. So can we take a little look at you in corporate life? How did you manage your energy?
Terribly. Terribly. There's a before and after, let's say. And it's still a learning curve today, right?
Yeah.
Before I got the introversion thing and had an understanding of why it was exhausting for me to keep up with everybody else, and I call it like playing to somebody else's drumbeat. There was a drumbeat that would happen in the organisation, what was expected and when and how and so on, that I just didn't suit me at all. I'm a slow, reflective, mega calm person who likes lots of alone time. But, after a full day workshop, which you've got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to fly to a different country for, you've just been on the stage and run it with your team. And now everybody's coming to you to ask lots of questions. And then you're supposed to go to the bar. And then for dinner, oh my gosh, it's midnight and you're getting up at 6 again the next day to go again. I mean, this is tiring for anybody, no question. But it would always find it remarkable that in the bar in the evening or around the dinner, there were plenty of people who were lit up by the conversation. I don't have a great poker face. I really don't. I really don't. And the camera doesn't lie. So there are plenty of photos of me out there with a face literally like zombie, like there is nothing left. There is really nothing left. Or equally the face, which is more like this kind of grumpy face, because I'm watching somebody talk, I'm thinking, well, yes, it's interesting, but can we just go to bed now? So I would really struggle with this, but just battle on, because I thought this is how it is. This is what's expected, and everybody else is fine. Of course, not true. So you keep going. And in my career, at this point, burnout wasn't really a word. It didn't really exist at that point. There was stress, but there wasn't really burnout. I think in hindsight, I probably was getting pretty close to going over the cliff, for want of a nicer analogy. And then the after effects, so again, the quiet book and working with the coach, it wasn't a magic switch. It doesn't suddenly miraculously get better, because it's like any skill, I think. Energy management is a muscle to build, and it was there, but it was very small. So it's just building that again and giving permission to put yourself first instead of everybody else. Permission to say no to things, even when you want to, but you realise actually there needs to be a no. Like if I'm going to show up well tomorrow, and I mean mentally well, physically well, emotionally well tomorrow, the answer is no. The answer is no. And it took a bit of confidence and courage to do that. Energy management for me at work was definitely a before and after. I would say a story of two halves. I used to do a lot to just try and keep up with everybody else, definitely, and not really realise why I would be so exhausted by it. And it's that real mental exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, but you end up physically exhausted by it. So draining, like you come away with a headache and tense jaw, tense neck from the exertion of always trying to do it. And I often talk about this idea of working to somebody else's drumbeat, right? So in corporate life and in other organisations as well, there is a rhythm that the business plays to. Ours was pretty fast and a little bit chaotic sometimes as well. And I used to try and dance to that with everybody else and then wonder why on earth I would literally crash. And the crash used to come sometimes on a Friday evening. But as I got more senior and bigger teams and I'd travel more internationally and do bigger stuff, it would gradually get earlier and earlier and earlier in the week. And I'm like, this can't be sustainable. And also, there were times when I thought, and here is like it was Facebook at the time, is now Instagram effect, where you think, I must be iron deficient. That's the thing. That's the latest thing. Iron deficiency. That's why I'm tired. Go, no, you're not iron deficient. Oh, okay. And you go through all these things of, well, maybe I need more physical exercise. And that did help a bit, actually. That did help a bit more, physical energy in the system. But it wasn't until, as we were saying before, I had this real knowledge and appreciation for introverts get their energy from this quiet alone time, this idea of retreat to recharge. That's where I get energy from. Oh, and that's okay, by the way. Brilliant. More of that then. Whereas, I just observe my extroverted colleagues all the time who just seem to thrive in those busy environments and socializing, and the bigger the group, the better. Which, not my happy place, not my happy place. So once I got this understanding, it was then about building my own toolkit for getting okay with saying no to things. So, we've just done this all-day workshop. We're all going for drinks. Do you want to come? Let me think. Does it help me in any way to go? Yes, for some reason. Fine. I'll come for one. I'm there half an hour. Or actually, no, there is no benefit. So I'll kindly decline this time and go. Just those sorts of things, and having the confidence to say that. And the curious thing is, as I got more senior and more confident, maybe it's an age thing as well, more confident in saying it, I had so many people who were elsewhere in the organisation and often, coming up the ladder who would say, thank you for saying that, because it kind of gives me permission to say the same thing. And you forget that statistically half of the population will be introverts. But yet we're all faking it, hoping for the best, thinking everyone else is fine. But just having that, if you want to call it courage, not really, but to say it just helps other people be like, yeah, same actually, and to make their own choices as well.
You've talked a lot about your energy. And I'd love you to articulate, what do organisations get when their introverts can take care of themselves?
Oh, some magic. I really think some magic. There are many people that I work with through coaching and also just in conversation who don't fully participate as they would love to in their role, in their team, in their organisation, because their energy is low, being pushed to be someone they're not. You just need to be more visible. You just need to speak up more. All these but never just be more of yourself, which is kind of sad. But also it really knocks confidence, because it often the subconscious message in there somewhere is, it's not okay to be you. You need to be more like this in order to succeed. So energy gets knocked, confidence goes down, self-belief erodes. And then we have people second guessing themselves, going, I've got this idea that I should say, but don't think I'm going to speak up and say it, because last time I got told, But again, it's that piece, like we were saying, with the shape of the tree, or expanding the whole box. When you have that difference and diversity that has full permission, full psychological safety, just to say the thing, even if it's not right, even if it kind of drops the little bomb in the conversation, or is a bit quirky and obscure, but if you have that safety to say that stuff, who knows what it's going to trigger? Who knows what the next person goes, I hadn't thought of it like that. I'm not sure that's quite the thing, but what about this? Boof, off we go in a completely different direction. So making that space for people to say the thing, checking in on what do you really need to perform at your best? And not just, okay, but really listening to that and doing something about it in your team, in your organisation. It requires everybody to slow down, to have the conversation. And that's sometimes the sticking point. So busy racing to hit the next target, do the next thing, because that seems to be very efficient. But sometimes as we know, the most efficient thing to do is to slow down and reflect and have a think about the how we're going to do the things, not just galloping forward with the what.
Mm. Thank you so much for that. So what's your dream for this baby of yours?
Oh, the book baby.
Yeah.
Well, do you know, I've been so, I don't know what the word is, overwhelmed, chuffed, it's a very English word, chuffed to bits with the reaction it's already had from people. So when it first launched, it became an Amazon #1 bestseller.
Well
Last
done.
month, it was a finalist at the National Business Book Awards. But you know, even more than that is just the joy of getting an email or a message from LinkedIn, let's say. Somebody says, "Oh, I've come across your book and I've read it, and this really resonated and it's really helped me in some way." It takes me back 10 years to when I was reading Susan Cain's book
Mm.
and had that moment of, "Oh, thank goodness, I'm not broken and there's a way forward." So the dream is already kind of happening, I have to say, but I think just having that opportunity to share it with more people. At the very beginning, as I was terrified in pressing go to publish, oh, what a day that was. What got me through was, if I can help one person, I've done my job.
Yeah.
So I've done my job. But equally, I know that there'll be all those little sisters coming through, and that maybe sounds a bit derogatory, it's not intended to, but all those little sisters coming through, and brothers, that will get some little nugget from the book. So just for the book to keep doing its thing out there and people to share it and talk about it.
Yes. And doing its little thing of saying it's okay to be me. What a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And that's the joy of the whole thing. You know, whenever I talk about it, I just get this joyful feeling of, you know, just helping others with that challenge and not feeling alone. So it's okay to be me, but it's okay to be us, actually.
Yeah.
That, as I said before, my big sister was also linked to a sense of a bit othering and isolation. So anything that helps people feel it's not just you. You're not odd, broken. You might be different from the people immediately around you, but we're all here. We're all here wanting to connect and to support. Yeah.
Nice. And lots of our coaches will be asking on their dog walk, what tips have you got for coaching people who are introverted?
I think, first of all, never, like any coach, never assume anything. Introversion is a helpful label, and then it's not. Also knowing that introversion, extroversion is a continuum. So, you know, we might have our deep introverts, our true hermits, and we might have our true extroverts who are always on, always out there, more communication, more content all the time. But in reality, we all sit somewhere along the continuum, and I'm pretty near the hermit end. But everybody's somewhere. And also, we are multidimensional, right? So we could list a whole row of labels to describe ourselves, which means every introvert will show up differently. What's in that individual's makeup? And I talk in the book a bit about the idea of having an introvert fingerprint, because whilst there are some sub-labels about, you know, what type of introvert you are, what are your motivators, your values, what's your definition of success that might make you show up differently. Also, you know, all our experiences, even what our boss said to us last week, will impact how we're feeling in terms of our confidence and other things. So a long way of saying, don't assume, ask. And especially in that contracting part, I have a lot of introverts who you would assume would love a lot of silence in coaching to think. But we always talk about what is the style of coaching you would like. Have you had coaching before? What worked, what didn't? And even I find it quite remarkable that many introverts say, no, I like a bit more the back and forth, because the silence isn't always helpful. I'm very good at thinking in my own head already, something I do a lot, and I have a lot of time to do that.
Yeah.
The value comes with having a thinking partner to help pull one of the ends of the spaghetti from that knotted plate of spaghetti in our head and just pull a strand together and see what comes.
Yeah.
So again, don't assume that introverts like lots of quiet and thinking. Not necessarily. Some do, some don't. So
Nice. That's a beautiful example of the answer to that question. What can we do together that you can't do alone? Thank you. Oh, Sarah, thank you so much for coming. So your book, Quiet Catalyst, The Introvert's Guide to Thriving in Your Career by Sarah Manley. Lovely cover. Right?
Thank you. Yeah, I had a lot of fun designing that with the publisher as well.
Nice. And how do people get in touch with you?
So best way to find me is through my website, thequietcatalyst.com. You'll also find me through the newsletter that you can sign up there. So every week I share some hints and tips and ideas around introversion. You also find me on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. So I'll put those in the show notes. Thank you, Sarah.
Wonderful. Thank you. What a lovely conversation. Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. Bye-bye.
If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we'd love you to share the podcast with a friend or leave a comment on social media. And if you'd like to become a regular at the Coaching Inn, you can subscribe on Podbean and all major podcast channels. We look forward to welcoming you next time. You've been listening to The Coaching Inn, 3D Coaching's virtual pub. For more information, check out 3dcoaching.com.